the run.
Mulligan, oh my goodness, muscles his way into the end zone. Hard runner, indeed. Strong cat, for sure. Irv Mulligan, and he wanted it.
And now we're joined by that man, Irv Mulligan, someone who can be mentioned in the same breath as Pro Football Hall of Famer Walter Payton. We'll get to that a little bit later on, Irv. But, Irv, how's everything going? When you sit there and you watch that tape of you scoring in your final year at Jackson State, how's that feel now that everything's kind of coming full circle?
Yes, sir. It's a blessing, man. It's a lot to soak in because this is a moment you've been waiting for since you was like a kid. So to see it all come true and all it revealing itself it's just something that you'll never forget, man. So it's like just trusting the process. That's what we was always taught. So just trusting the process and sticking with the process, man. It's the fun part about it. So when the time actually comes and we back playing football, that'll be the glory. That'll be the fruits of our labor. But I'm just enjoying the process right now. This is a dream come true. So I'm grateful.
Well, that's great. So let's walk back a little bit for the process for folks who don't know about what you did at Jackson State this year. 1,245 yards, 13 touchdowns. You entered the record books. You're the Southwestern Athletic Conference Offensive Player of the Year. All of these accolades, right? So you talk about the process, but next week is the NFL draft where you can land either during the draft or after the draft on an NFL roster, right? You talk about this process. What exactly has gone into it for you?
It's a lot of things that's going into it. First, you got to start with your collegiate career. That's where you set your strongest foundation at. So to be able to perform on a collegiate career, on your collegiate level, that's where it starts at. So to leave a legacy, to beat Walter Payton records, to get notoriety, to be in a conversation with a legend and a great like him, it is just, I'm grateful for this blessing. So for me to just continue to train and go through the process, like I said, to get to that next level, it's just amazing, man. And, there's a lot of guys and a lot of people counting on us to, join their teams, to be pros and do a lot of the same things those greats that left the blueprint behind for us to do. So that's what I'm excited most about, to join a team, to join the legacy with guys that already been there way before me. I left, a trail of great things. So I just want to join like any team, become a pro, and do the same thing those guys did.
Sorry, if you talk about that legacy, you're wearing a shirt that says the All-State HBCU Legacy Bowl,
yes, sir,
which was, the big showcase for players from historically black colleges and universities. You got to speak to a ton of teams down there, and they got to speak to you. What were some of the questions and things that they were curious about, knowing that you're coming in after such a highlight type of season?
Yes, sir. Well, the main question is, every team want to know what type of guy are they getting. So the main thing was, how are you different than the rest of the backs out there? Well, like I tell them, for one, my mentality, I don't think there's no back out there really with the mentality I got, with the grit I got, and, the chip I got on my shoulder. And two, my IQ, I'm just as smart as a quarterback. So, a lot of guys forget that part of the game. It's, 80% mental, 20% physical in my mind. So, my ability to read defenses and, outsmart defenses. And on this one touchdown run in the SWAC championship game, it was an inside run. I turned it to an outside run, just because of my IQ. I know the whole defense was going to crash the middle. It's just the small, simple things, coming from a small school and, coming from Wofford, which is also a small school. So I always bank on my IQ, so that's one thing that definitely separates me from a lot of guys. And that was the one question he wanted to know.
I love hearing that, because you're talking about your IQ, because we see the physical specs, right? 5'10", about 205, 4'5", 40. Yes, you averaged about 6.5 yards per carry throughout your college career, even though a lot of the video we're seeing your power runs. You've got the breakaway ability. So how about this? We know this is an incredibly deep running back group coming into the draft. But when you hear and see things about guys like Ashton Genty and Scatabo and guys like that, how do you compare yourself to them? Because you have some of the same physical specs, just as good of numbers. What's your comparison line?
Well, this is what I say. If you put me at in an Ashton Genty spot, or one of those guys spot where they have the so-called elite offensive line, the elite training, the nutrition, and the elite coaching, you put me in a position like that where I'm getting 30, 20-something carries a game, and see my results and see what I do. So the comparison, yeah, we all, got the prototype physique, but I feel like if you put me in those shoes, I would excel way better. I would have did way more. So and if you pay attention, I only had 18 carries per game this year. Not too many games more where I had more or less. So those guys were getting all the 25 to 30 carries. So you put the ball in my hand that much, you can see some amazing things. So those guys got some great games. I love their game. They got like a lot of similar downhill. They physical. But my home run speed is a little different. When I take off, I really take off. So I would say the physical part, yeah, you can compare it, but like the speed and my IQ, that's why I separate myself.
All right. I love hearing that. Now, look, we started off this conversation of talking about Walter Payton, one of the greatest players ever in NFL history, Black college football history. You broke his single-season rushing record this season at Jackson State. And you talked about it a little bit, but being mentioned in the same breath as him, the legacy he's left at Jackson State in the NFL, has that really sunk in yet to you that you have had a better season than one of the greatest players ever at any level of football?
It's so crazy how many people remind me of it, but it's like I haven't yet like really sat there and like, process it, or like it really haven't hit me yet. And then that's my idol. If any running back out there or have played the game, that's the guy I watch the most and guy I study the most. So, just me admiring him and just saying I was going to break his record and actually doing it, it feels good, but I don't think until it's time for somebody else to, break the record next or close to breaking the record or 30, 20 years down the line, I feel like that's when I'll feel it then. But he's still Walter Payton and I'm still Irvin Mulligan. So when I become, the caliber guy he was, then I feel like it hit me then.
I love it. Sweetness 2.0. Irv Mulligan, Jackson State.
2.0.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for taking the time and all the best.